Hey everyone, it's Jose here, and welcome to the course overview lecture. I'm super excited that you're starting your journey to learn Python. I know it's sometimes tempting to just skip these intro lectures and go straight to the technical material, but I have one favor to ask of you as you go through this course, and that is to please don't skip this lecture. We're going to cover a lot of important material in this lecture, such as where to find the notebooks, how to approach the course, how to ask questions, so please watch this entire lecture, that way you can get the best course taking experience possible. All right, let's not waste any more of your time and let's get started. In this lecture, we're going to talk about useful tips for going through the course, how to get help during the course, general advice on how to approach the course, where to find the course notebooks, and how to use the student chat channel. So some general tips as far as your course taking experience. When you're using the video player, you can use the gear setting to either speed up or slow down videos. So if you're like me and you like watching videos a little faster, maybe on 2x speed, you can use the gear setting for that. Or maybe English isn't your first language, you can slow down the videos, and you can also do things like turn on closed captions, or you can also change the streaming quality. You can use the Udemy app to download videos of the course lectures, and for more information on the Udemy app, you can check out the Udemy support pages for it. Also, make sure to use the Q&A forums. There's lots of previous discussion available there to help answer any questions you may have. Let's talk about getting help in a little more detail. Let's talk about the best series of steps to take when you have a question that arises while you're taking the course. If you're coding along with the videos, it's sometimes really easy to make a typo, which is why we provide course notebooks with explanatory text and the Python code for every single lecture. So if you ever get an error due to code that you thought you were following along with in the video, you should double check your code against our course notebooks. You can always just download the notebooks directly and run the notebooks, or copy and paste from the notebooks themselves. That way, you can make sure that your error isn't due to some typo while you're watching the video. Now, not every single question is going to be directly related to following along with our code. And if you do have a question, sometimes a quick Google search or a Stack Overflow search will get you the answer faster than anyone else could. So I would always recommend doing a Google search or Stack Overflow search, especially if you actually end up getting an error code in Python with maybe some of your own code that you were trying out. Just copy and paste that error code into Google, and a lot of times the very first hit is going to answer your question. Now let's say that still doesn't help you. What you should do is search our Q&A forums in the course. We've had over 250,000 students go through this course, so you can almost imagine that any question possible has already been asked and answered by either myself or our teaching assistants. So you should definitely search the Q&A forums before posting there. Now let's say you have a question on just general course things like how to get a certification or where the Udemy app is. Those kind of things are answered in our FAQ lecture. So we have an article lecture with frequently asked questions that you can check out for useful links and more information. Let's say you did all those steps and you're still confused on something, that's absolutely no problem. We're here to help you. The way to do that is to submit a new question to the QA forums and make sure you provide details on what you've tried, screenshots of your error code, and really as much detail as possible. That way we can help you as quickly as possible. Now let's say you have some sort of platform level issue. For those kind of things, you should email support@udemy.com or go to the Udemy support page and open a new issue there. So platform level issues are things like having video playback issues, questions or issues with your certification, or questions or issues with payments. Those are platform level issues and we can't really help you out. So email support@udemy.com to quickly get help on that. Finally, let's talk about how to approach the course. The best way to approach the course is to really review the notebooks along with the video. The videos are really great, but we want you to leverage the power of the notebooks we have for you. And both beginners and experienced users can really use the notebooks to best suit them. For beginners, I would recommend that you read the extra notes in the notebook as you go along with the video guide. If you're more experienced, what you may want to use notebooks for is to quickly review them and see which parts you may already know or may already quickly feel comfortable with. That way you don't feel slowed down by the videos. So beginners, really use the notebooks, read them well, go along with the video. Experienced users, check out the notebooks first and see if you really need the video. Or it allows you to maybe skip certain parts of the video and go to where you need a little more drilling down in. As far as these course notebooks that we keep mentioning, you should check your automated welcome message for the link to the notebooks. Later on, we're going to review how to actually download and open them in the Running Python Code lecture. These notebooks are actually a special file type meaning when you download them, you're not able to just double-click them and have them open. We discuss in a lot more detail throughout the course on how to actually open these notebooks that you've downloaded. The notebooks are hosted on GitHub though, so you'll be able to view them at any time, even without downloading them. The link to download them is also in our FAQ lecture. So either check your welcome message or go to the FAQ lecture for that link. Now let's talk about the student chat channel. There's also a link for our student chat channel in the automated welcome message to join our Discord server. This is a chat channel that's shared between all our courses, so you'll be able to interact with students learning about data science, finance, SQL, R, Scala, and more. In the automated welcome message, there's also a link to a YouTube video describing further information on how to use and log into our chat server. It's actually super easy, but we have that YouTube video in case there's any confusion. Something to keep in mind is that the purpose of that chat channel is to connect students with other students. Technical questions related to the course material are still best suited for our question and answer forums. So you should use that chat channel to have fun, engage with other students, but if you're having a problem with a lecture or a topic or concept in the actual course, those questions are best suited for the question and answer forums. And remember, you can always search the question and answer forums for previously posted questions. All right, last but not least, a huge thank you for enrolling in this course. I'm humbled by all the students that have enrolled, and I'm privileged to be your instructor for Python. Okay, let's get started and take you from zero to hero. Hello, and welcome to the course curriculum overview. In this video, we're going to be getting a brief overview of all the content in this course. Let's go ahead and get started. First, this course starts off with an introduction section, including this overview, a discussion on Python 2 versus Python 3, and a lecture on how best to approach this course to maximize your benefits from taking this course. After that, we'll get started with a Python setup section. We'll learn how to install Python on your computer. We'll learn about environment selection. We'll learn about the Jupyter Notebook system. You'll get access to additional learning resources online, and then we'll have a brief overview on Git and GitHub. Next, we start with the live code sections. We'll learn about object and data structure basics, including numbers, strings, lists, dictionaries, tuples, files, sets, and booleans, all in Python. After each of these individual lectures, there's quizzes to test your understanding. And at the end of this section, there's an assessment test, so you can check your knowledge on each of these topics. Afterwards, we'll get a section on comparison operators. We'll learn about both basic operators and chain comparison operators, with this section ending with a quiz to also test your understanding. Then we'll move on to Python statements, including if statements, for loops, while loops, the range function, and list comprehensions, all in Python, with an assessment test at the end to test your understanding. Next, we'll learn about methods and functions, what they are, how to create them. We'll also learn about lambda expressions, nested statements in Python, and scope in Python. We'll top it off with a homework assignment to test your understanding about methods and functions. Then, you'll have your first milestone project, where you will create a game with Python. Then, we'll move on to object-oriented programming, where we'll learn about objects, classes, methods, inheritance, and special methods, all in Python. Then you'll get a homework assignment to test your understanding. After that, we'll learn about errors and exception handling in Python, including what errors are, what exceptions are, and how to use try, except, and finally to handle errors and exceptions. Then, we'll top it off with a test to test your knowledge and your understanding so far in the course. Then you'll come up with your second milestone project, where you're going to create a more complex game, all in Python. Afterwards, we'll learn about modules and packages in Python, how to create them, how to install them from the internet, and we'll explore the Python ecosystem in general. Then we'll move on to built-in functions in Python, such as map, reduce, filter, zip, enumerate, all and any, and even how to deal with complex numbers. At the end of this section, we'll have a final assessment test where you can test your understanding for built-in functions. Next, we'll learn about decorators in Python, a 3-part series ending with a homework assignment. Afterwards, we'll learn about Python generators, including iteration versus generation discussions, how to create generators, and a homework assignment, again, to test your knowledge about Python generators. After that, we'll put together everything you've learned in a final capstone project. But that's not all. There's advanced bonus content, including an entire section about advanced Python modules and advanced Python objects and data structures, so you can level up your knowledge. There's new content regularly added to this section, with dozens of lectures. You'll also get access to community forums and a dedicated help from me, your instructor. So, that's the entire course curriculum overview, so let's go ahead and get started with the course. Thank you, and I'll see you at the next lecture. Welcome back, everyone, to this Python overview lecture. In this lecture, I'm going to do a brief overview of what Python is and a little bit of its history, why you may want to choose Python for programming, and what you can do with Python. And this lecture in particular is really geared towards people who are new to programming and Python is their first language. As a beginner, it's often unclear what you can actually do with Python and what the difference between base Python is versus lots of additional libraries. So hopefully this lecture can clear that up for you. Let's start with just a very brief history of Python. It was created in 1990 by Guido van Rossum, who is pictured here, and Python 3 was released in 2008, with subsequent releases happening after that, such as 3.1, 3.2, and so on. Now, Python, when developed by Guido van Rossum, was specifically designed as an easy-to-use language, with a very high focus on readability of code. And these are just a few of the things that have really allowed Python to explode in popularity. Readability and ease of use was something that was set ever since the start of the creation of the language. So why would you want to choose Python? As I mentioned, ever since the beginning, Python was designed for clear, logical code that is easy to read and easy to learn. Lots of other programming languages use braces and brackets that can make code convoluted and maybe hard to read. But Python makes use of something called whitespace and indentation that we'll learn about later on in this course that makes its code very accessible. Even if you don't know Python but you know another programming language, you can usually read Python without knowing the real syntax behind it. That's how readable it is. Now, lots of existing libraries and frameworks are already written in Python as well, allowing users to apply Python to a wide variety of tasks. Another reason that Python has really become popular in recent years. Another reason to choose Python is it really focuses on optimizing developer time rather than a computer's processing time. Usually, a developer's time is much more valuable as a person rather than just the computational processing time. So the whole language of Python is designed for users to really get prototyping up and running very quickly. It also has fantastic documentation online and lots of helpful resources if you just Google Python help. So the official documentation is fantastic, and you can check it out at docs.python.org/3. Okay, so what can you actually do with Python? This course really first focuses on what I'm going to call base Python, which consists of the core components of the language and writing scripts and small programs. Python is often referred to as a program that comes with, quote, batteries included, which means even the base version of Python actually comes in with lots of additional modules that you can use for writing scripts. And as an example of that could be something like the random module that comes with Python, which allows you to quickly create random numbers, or the math module of Python, etc. Now, once we learn about base Python and its base modules, what we can do is later learn about outside libraries and frameworks that greatly expand Python capabilities. These are frameworks that are not included with base Python, but you can easily download and then work with your basic Python skills. So what can you do once you start using those outside libraries? Well, a really useful part of Python, especially if you're someone who works in an office or as an analyst, is automating simple tasks. You can do things like have Python automatically search for files and then edit them, scrape information from a website automatically. It can read and write Excel files, work with PDFs. It can even automate emails and text messages and fill out forms for you. Python is also extremely popular in the data science and machine learning world. It can do things like analyze large data files using libraries like NumPy and Pandas. It can also create visualizations using outside libraries like Seaborn and Matplotlib. There's also machine learning tasks, and they can create and run predictive algorithms using outside libraries like scikit-learn and TensorFlow. So lots of outside libraries have actually been developed for data science and machine learning, and Python is the most popular language in that field. Now you can also create websites. So if you're interested in web development, people have developed web frameworks such as Django and Flask to handle the back end of a website and user data that can communicate with the front end of a website. You can also do things like create interactive dashboards for users using Python libraries like Plotly and Dash. So once you begin to understand base Python in this course and begin working with a few libraries, I think you'll quickly begin to see the vast potential Python has for you in your own projects. So keep in mind, this course really starts from the basics in base Python, and then as you get more and more skilled, we'll begin to introduce these outside libraries to perform tasks such as working with PDFs or web scraping sites. So let's go ahead and get started with setting you up for the course. Thanks, and I'll see you at the next lecture.